sleep training. I was so confused about it. If we chose to do baby-led weaning, did your period come back yet? And I'm sorry if this is too TMI. How do you manage your PPD? Thinking about how on earth I would ever do it again. Advice on getting through the newborn stage. Multiple questions about baby number 2, and I am here to say, hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I hope y'all are doing super duper well. The postpartum hair loss regrowth today is truly regrowthing. I feel like a freaking chicken. The other day I did a full spend the day with me on my Instagram stories, and there were a few of the same questions popping up, so I figured it was probably time for a refreshed Q&A. If you want to be part of either of those, whether it's the full day on my story or the Q&A question submissions, make sure to go follow me on Instagram. If you are new here, my name is Mac. My husband's name is Jack. Yes, Mac and Jack. We went on a 3 to 4 year infertility journey to get our miracle daughter here with us. All of that is documented on my channel in case you want to binge any of those videos, but without further ado, let's dive into some of these questions. What is her night routine? What time does she go to bed? This is actually a really great idea to do an updated Q&A because I feel like all of these routines really start coming about as they get older, and it even more so solidifies as the months go on too. Oh, she's like 10 months when you're watching this actually. Oh my gosh. She's 10 months in 2 days when I'm filming this. This is crazy. But we basically do the same exact thing for her last wake window before she goes down for the night every single day. So she gets up from her last nap, we do a nursing session, and then Jack, myself, and her all go for a family walk in the carrier because she is not a stroller girly. Our usual walk is the perfect amount of time because when we come back, it's time for her dinner. And then basically right after her dinner, we do a bath, we do one more nursing session, and then we do songs. I know a lot of people like to read before naps and bedtime. She was never into her books from a very young age when it was time to do those activities, and she more calmed down to music. So we've been doing that since like forever at this point. And right after songs, we do about 2 to 3 of them. We do Disney classic songs. I think it's a Spotify playlist or something. And then she goes down, and that's the routine. On a similar note, a lot of people are asking about sleep training, if we slept trained, Annie? And I would say that we never did any formal sleep training. We kind of just felt it out and felt what felt best for us and for her. I think the most formal that we ever got was wait a 5-minute, but she always ended up going to sleep within like 3 minutes of fussing. And let me just say, I feel very blessed for that to be the case. And for anybody who is considering sleep training out there, you will not get judgment from me. I definitely understand and definitely would have resorted to sleep training if it didn't resort itself. You have my full support. Somebody asked for advice for traveling with a baby, and I want to ask that back to all of you because the girl has no idea. I'm terrified. We are taking our first plane ride in October of this year, and it is something that I have to just like push out of my mind, or else I will overthink and get very anxious about it. So please leave all of your travel tips down below. The most we have gone with her, and it is extremely painful every single time, is about 1 hour and 15 up to my parents' house. And our tip for that is one of us sits in the back. She's gotten a lot better since being a little lumpy potato for sure, but it's constant toys, constant books. We haven't resorted to Ms. Rachel. I'm sure that is a great last resort, something that I would not be above for sure, but usually the books and the toys and the interaction gets her to about that 1 hour 15, but it's a close call. What sleep sack does Miss Annie use? We have tried a bunch. I'll tell you our favorites. For the swaddle situation, for anyone who has younger babies, our absolute favorite swaddle was the Halo sleep sack swaddle thing. Basically, it's the one that you can have her arms out, but it also velcros. It's a velcro swaddle, and it made it really easy to transition her with one arm out when it was time and then both arms out, because the velcro situation, you could kind of keep it tighter for that kind of compression-y feel that a swaddle gives during that transition. And then when she was completely out of the velcro swaddle, we loved the Kite Baby swaddles, but I know there are a lot of bamboo swaddles that people really like. We just loved the like weight of those. They were one 1 tog. I think we only ever got to 1 tog for her. But then for 0.5 tog, when the weather started getting warmer, our favorite is the Halo Just Sleep blanket. It's 0.5 tog and it's just like really lightweight and cotton. How did you survive the first trimester? I am so nauseous and only 6 weeks. I am so sorry. I'm really happy for you. Congratulations. But the nausea is something that it's like I don't forget that I was miserable, but I forget how it felt. I just know that it sucked so bad. Tried and true things that personally helped me was I needed to eat something immediately when I woke up. I could not wait very long at all before putting something in my body. With that, I had to eat pretty consistently throughout the day. If I got hungry, it was pretty much game over. I think ginger tea, like a lemon ginger tea, helped. I remember drinking that in the morning sometimes. But the pink stork, like little candy things, I'll leave them linked down below, the specific ones that I got, because they have like a few varieties of them. I constantly had those in my bag and I would only do about like 2 a day. That's really all I needed, but they took the edge off so well. So I will leave the ones that I had linked below. They were a godsend. A couple people asked about Annie's breastfeeding / eating schedule around her naps, because I'm pretty sure I did not do a good job at time stamping my spend the day with me on my Instagram. So this is pretty much how it goes every single day. She'll wake up for the day between 7:20 and 7:45 a.m. If she's not up by 7:45, we'll get her up at that point. And then right when she gets up, we'll immediately do her first breastfeeding session. About an hour later, she'll eat breakfast. And then around the 3-hour mark from when she got up, she'll go down. So around like 10:30 or 10:45 a.m. She consistently will sleep around 2 hours for that first nap. It is her best nap out of the 2. We'll do her second breastfeeding session, and then I would say her lunch is not as structured as her breakfast and dinner at this point. She'll have some of what I'm having, and then we make sure to do a little snack, whether it's a pouch or a little bar or some yogurt melts or a combination of all of the 3. And then she does do another breastfeeding session before she goes down for her second nap, which would be around like 3:30 or 3:45. And then she'll be up for the rest of the evening before she goes back down, anywhere between 5 and 5:15. Sometimes we'll push it to 5:30 depending on if she was having trouble falling asleep for that one, because it's not her best nap. But then she'll do another breastfeeding session and she'll eat dinner sometime within there, and then 7:30 is her last breastfeeding session before she goes down between 7:45 and 8 p.m. at night. So what is that? 5 total breastfeeding sessions, 2 full meals, and maybe the lunch counts as a full meal if you like pull it all together, but definitely more snacky in the middle of the day for now. And then 2 naps. The first one is 2 hours. The second one is about 1 to 1.5 hours. A few questions about the eating and solids, if we chose to do baby-led weaning or how purees went, etc. After long consideration, I decided to start with purees because I wanted the start to solids to be a fun experience for everybody in the family. And I just, knowing myself, knew deep down in my soul that if I tried to start with baby-led weaning, it would not be a fun experience for me. Hence, it probably wouldn't be a fun experience for the rest of the family. I think I also had a serious sit down with myself and asked myself if I was feeling pressured to baby-led wean because I was seeing it all over social media. Not to say that baby-led weaning is not a great way to start solids, and a lot of people really like it, but it is not the only way to get your baby to start eating food. And the way that it has just been spread all over social media, not the original intention of it, but the way that it's been spread and talked about and pushed almost. You would think that your baby was like never gonna learn to eat food if you did not start with baby-led weaning. So again, absolutely no shade to baby-led weaning. It is a method, but it's not the only method, and purees worked best for us. And then pretty quickly after we started on that, we just started adding a little bit more texture into it, and she took really well to it until we started introducing some scrambled eggs or some yogurt with mashed strawberries in it, and like some more texture, more stringy, all of that stuff. And we've got ourselves the eater. She has pretty much liked everything that she's tried, and we're constantly just trying new things, except for peas. Peas are like, for some reason. They're way better than broccoli, but she likes broccoli and she doesn't like peas. I literally could not explain it. On a similar note, somebody asked for baby meal ideas. I will tell you our go-tos, but I would love baby meal ideas down below. Easy ones. If I'm like whipping up a chef-made, homemade like meal, like homemade pancakes even, those are great, but they take a minute, you know? So if you have like easy throw together meals for babies, that would be really, really great. Leave those down below. Our go-tos for breakfast are a combination of scrambled eggs, and we'll sprinkle some shredded cheese on that. A full-fat Greek yogurt with some sort of mashed fruit, whether it's blueberries or strawberries or peaches. And then baby oatmeal, and we mix it instead of with water with prune juice to help with her digestion. And she's been into some pancakes lately, but I'll usually save those for like her lunchtime / snack time of the day. And then for dinner, a few of our go-tos are like a spinach cheese ravioli with some sweet potato. We just roast a whole sweet potato in the oven and it lasts us for like a full week, if not more. And then we get these frozen packs of vegetables that you can steam right in the microwave, so they're really easy to prep. And they have all these different combos of some. They've got like a carrot and cauliflower and pea, which is not a go-to for us anymore, mixture. They also have just plain broccoli, plain cauliflower, carrots, etc. Still confused over the Tog / Sleepwear I got you, because same, I was so confused about it. There are two charts that I have screenshotted probably 5 times each that I reference every time I have a question of, oh, how cold is it in her room, or how warm is it and what should she be wearing? And then something else that helped was just getting a really simple thermometer for her room. The baby monitor has one, but that is always reading like 5 degrees warmer than the room actually is. So I'll leave the really simple thermometer that we just ordered off Amazon link down below. And we go off of that one and these charts, and it's pretty flawless every time. Did your period come back yet? I'm almost 8 months postpartum, still no period, but nursing still. Mine came back around 6 months postpartum, and I actually was not expecting that at all because we're still nursing as well. So I thought I had a little bit more time. I have to say though, and I know a lot of other women experience this, but my cycle completely changed after. So I feel like there's still some more leveling out that's happening, because my periods used to be so painful, and I still get cramps, but they're just not nearly as excruciating as they were before. But the length of my period is so much longer. Like, it felt like the most intense days before were like right up at the top. Like the first 1 to 2 days were pretty bad, but then after that it was pretty smooth sailing and really light. But now it's just like a constant, and I'm sorry if this is too TMI, but like really heavy for like 5 to 6 days, but the pain is a little bit less, but it's just kind of the same amount of pain for like 5 to 6 days. And also, I've seen a lot of women talk about this, but my mood before, like the week before, is drastically worse than it used to be the week before. It's wild. It's so crazy. Besides eating dinner after baby goes to bed, that's something that I shared on the Instagram, spend the day with me. How else are you prioritizing your marriage? I think this is a very interesting question because we don't. And I just want to be honest, and I do want to talk about this one because honestly, the fact that we do get to spend our dinners together at the end of the day fully uninterrupted, and we get that like 2 hours or so before we go to bed, is incredible at this point. We cherish that time. We make it very intentional. We, like I said, ask each other about our day. I'm always knowing what's going on in his work life, and he always knows how I'm feeling throughout the day because we have that debrief and connection at the end. But I do feel like once a baby comes, there's almost this pressure to balance it all. At least I feel that way. Between if you work, whether it's part-time or full-time, your new roles as mom and dad, keeping the house up between all the chores, laundry, dishes, etc., so it just doesn't feel so overwhelming. Oh yeah, and taking care of a baby and making sure that you keep them alive all day, you know? It's not that the relationship is gonna suffer, it's just that you don't have naturally as much time as you did before to prioritize each other because you got this little being to prioritize. But instead of putting pressure on ourselves to be like, oh my gosh, we haven't spent this much time together and like we need to go on a date and we need to do this, we just make whatever time that we do have very intentional. We just make it count. But yeah, if you're a new parent and you're just feeling pressure to be perfect in all of the roles, whether it's wife, husband, mother, father, employee, like all of those, it can just get so overwhelming. So just take that pressure off and realize it's just the season that you're in right now. Speaking of, somebody asked that I saw you and Jack went on a date night recently. Any recs for where to find a sitter? Jack and I went on our very first solo date night at 9.5 months post having Annie. It's just pat myself on the back there. As my birthday present, my mom had come to offer to babysit her while we went out to dinner. And because I'm exclusively breastfeeding at the moment, my life is kind of beholden to when she needs to feed. The best time to do it was after she went down for bed, and we just grabbed a reservation that was more of like an 8 p.m., 8:15 p.m. reservation. And it also took away the factor of her realizing we were gone. I was not ready to do something like that. We went out to dinner and we came back, and Annie had no idea that any of it went on. So if that's something that you're interested in, you have family members nearby that you just want to come sit on your couch while the baby sleeps, that's a great option. But if I didn't have any family members nearby that could do that, I would probably ask around, whether it was in my mom groups, not mom groups, it's really like story times at the library, but people that I see during those. Just within the community, I would ask for recommendations. How do you manage your PPD when a big wave comes over you? Been struggling really bad. First of all, I am so sorry. I'm sending you so much love, but I love how this person put it because I can tell we have very similar experiences under our belt. It truly is like a big wave. If you guys don't know, I think I've talked about it more on Instagram than officially on here. I'm pretty open about me struggling with certain things on here, but I was officially diagnosed with PPD. I think it was just really hard to come to the realization or like come to terms with the fact that I definitely have PPD. It just feels so heavy and official almost, but it's also just very freeing calling it what it is. I also have this preconceived notion of whatever I knew about PPD, which was not a lot, that it was like a constant state. Like you wake up constantly depressed, like you're always depressed. And if you're not, then it might be something else, or it might not officially be PPD. But for me, in my case, and it sounds like this person's case as well, I will have great days, feeling pretty much normal, feeling really happy, going with the flow, loving my days, and then it'll just hit like a full-on wave out of nowhere, or something might trigger it, something that's either frustrating or sad or really stressful, and I can just feel it, just like this massive cloud or blanket that just rides over me, and it is the saddest state. The thoughts are not rooted in reality. They're extremely sad. They're extremely, I wouldn't say anxious. There's definitely anxious components to them, but it is different than postpartum anxiety in that way. But when I'm in the state, it is really, really hard to see any sort of light like through the blanket. But what I do try to keep in mind is that it always does pass. That is the number one thing that gets me through, and also not fighting it. Whenever I fight it or I feel more guilty because I'm experiencing it, it just feels like I'm pushing against it, and that's probably going to prolong it anyway. I find that if I accept it, even though it sucks and it's sad and it's not the state I want to be in, if I accept it and I hold it up for what it is and I wait for that cloud to lift, for the blanket to lift, and remind myself that this is not forever, even though it feels like it's going to be forever, those are the things that get me through it best. Advice on getting through the newborn stage. First time mom with a 3-week-old. Oh my gosh, I'm sending love to this person too. I think the number one thing that helped me during it was knowing that it was hard for a lot of people. Like, you are so not alone in that. The hardest part was just being hit with the reality of a newborn. I was not personally around a ton of really, really newborn babies. By the time I would meet any family babies, they were always a little bit older, like 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, and that is so different. That stage is so different than a tiny, tiny little newborn. It helped to know that I was not alone, It helped to know that other people did not like the newborn stage either, and that is 1000% okay. I remember feeling incredible guilt around not loving the newborn stage. Dare I say, truly disliking the newborn stage, because we had wished for this baby for so long, and then all of a sudden I hated it. I loved her, but oh my gosh, my Roman Empire is thinking about how on earth I would ever do it again. Like, that's how scary it was for me. But I do have to say, because it sounds like I'm like, oh my god, don't have babies. No, like, have babies, but know that it could be hard, but also know that some people love it. Some people love the newborn stage, and that is totally fine too, and that could be you as well. But knowing if you don't love it, you're not alone, and that is okay. It does get better. Every time somebody would remind me that it gets better who had little kids but were past the newborn stage, I would cling to that. I'm like, everyone says it. Everybody says that it gets better, so it has to be true. And it is. And it is true. I would say around that 3 to 4 month mark was the first, like, okay, this is better. This is better. The 6 month mark, even better. Something clicked there as well. The 8 month mark, even better. And it's just gotten better ever since. And a silver lining, if you will, if you don't like the newborn stage, I feel like everything just is always getting better because you have that reference of not loving the newborn stage. That's my personal experience anyway. And to end off, there are multiple questions about baby number 2, and I am here to say that I am terrified of having another baby, if I'm being 1000% honest. It has absolutely nothing to do with my precious perfect angel of an Annie Banani. Freaking love that girl so much. But everything to do with my personal postpartum experience with PPD. I am so afraid of having that again. I still have the waves, but to be freshly postpartum and just in that state for as many months as I was, that is so scary. And to know that that's a possibility, and to know what that feels like, and to willingly put myself there, is something that I'm gonna definitely have to work through before I put myself there. Also a little bit of a fear of doing the newborn stage again, if I'm completely honest, but I feel like I've got so many more tools under my belt this time around that I had no idea about going into the newborn stage the first time. So I think just the overall postpartum / early fresh newborn vibes are just, oh my gosh, I'm scared, guys. I'm scared. I do have to say though, every time I see somebody having their second baby, whether it's people in my life or people I follow online, I think every single one of them was talking about just how much better it is the second time because of that confidence that they have the second time around that they didn't have before, and how they are just able to soak in a lot more of it because they're either not constantly worried, or their experience postpartum is just very different from the first time if they had a hard time before. So if you have a story like that, I would love to read that. I know I asked you guys to comment a bunch of things down below, but I would love to read some of those. If you've had a second and your first was pretty tough, that would be really lovely to soak in the comments. But anyways, my friends, that is going to be it for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did and you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, make sure to do so down below. My Instagram is also linked down below. I will try to remember to link the products I was talking about also down below for you guys to reference. I love you all so much, and I will catch you in the next one, my friends. I'll see you all later. Bye.